Hey people, good morning. It is still morning. It's 10 o'clock almost on Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023. Oh man, it's been quite a day. What was it somebody said yesterday about something in retrograde? I don't think I wrote it down, but I should have because it's going nuts, I think. I'm just trying to chill, not worry about anything, not worrying about the lighting because it seems like it's drowning, flooding. But, I'm just happy to be on. And hopefully, there's some people that can join me in chat. If you are here, please say hi, just so I know you can hear and that things are working. Sherry Irvin, am I saying it right? Irvin? It's like Irvin, Irvin. Good morning, Jazz. Love your outfit. Oh, thank you. Okay, I got it. I got to just get right into it because this is so funny. I made this shirt and I made a curtain because I love the fabric so much. And I try not to use them simultaneously. So yesterday I was using the curtain, but I will tell you, there was a day last week where I actually had this shirt. I think it was a week ago. It might've been 2. I had this shirt and the curtain, and I was just like, who's going to notice? I'm not going to say anything. I didn't even notice it until later, like a day or 2 later. I was like, oh crap. That was like the one thing I feared doing. But I also thought, wouldn't that be hilarious if I matched my curtain? Holy kaboli, people. It's just so hard to keep up. So yeah, it's kind of dangerous to have a shirt that I made out of the same fabric that I made a curtain out of. So, problems. If that's my biggest problem, I'm one lucky person. That's how I like to look at things. So let me read your comments here, Miss Anonymous. Good morning. And Susan Dodge Aguilar. Am I saying it right? Aguilar. I think it's hard for me to see if that's an I or an L. I think it's an I. And Susan says, hey, Jazz, Dominique. I'll just try to stick with the first name so I'm not giving myself more curveballs than I need. Tuning in while I work. And Sherry says, yes, you're saying it correct. Awesome. And Susan says, Carol Burnett, did she do that? Did she have her shirt match like her couch or her curtain? Because I love Carol Burnett and I don't remember that episode, but that's a good one, isn't it? I remember it from What About Bob? In What About Bob, the psychiatrist's wife is wearing a shirt that either matches the curtain or the sofa or both when the TV news crew comes to interview her husband. So that's what I always think of. And I think What About Bob is like a classic modern day comedy. I love Bill Murray was like born for that role, in my opinion. And Richard Dreyfuss plays a very good neurotic a-hole. And I won't say who he resembles in this case of Idaho 4, but let's get right into it. Everything I say is simply my opinion. It's simply speculation for the sake of conversation, hoping to open a discussion, looking at the facts of this horrible atrocity that happened on November 13th this last year. The 4 people that were slaughtered in Moscow, and the aftermath and the arrest that happened Friday. Was that the day before New Year's Eve? So here we are on the 3rd day of the new year, and our internet is just explosive with so much information about the accused. And I feel like we know very little. There's a lot of information coming out. I'm taking in what I can, which I feel like is just a sliver of what's out there. But hopefully I'm getting some of the cream of the crop and the best stuff. But that's one reason I like to come on with you guys, because you can help fill me in. I can help fill you in. When I don't have much time to watch things, I pretty much stick with News Nation, Harsh, Allegedly Innocent, Evil Exists, and a couple others. There's so many great channels, and I just love that we have all these amazing content creators. I love Drip Drop's latest on the 4chan and Reddit accounts. Pretty wild. Thank you. I can't even keep up with the ones that I love, but I caught Drip Drop's latest live yesterday. I couldn't believe it. I was so happy that he was doing it. I was so happy that I caught it. Like I saw on the computer 30 minutes before he started. So I was counting down and, doing the things I needed to do. And I was just really happy to be with that live because it was so packed with information. So packed. And I did get some of it incorrect, which I corrected in my comments after my second live yesterday. Specifically, he had put up a photograph, a screenshot of the layout of the house where the massacres happened that it looked like the accused had posted. And I misinterpreted that it was posted on Reddit or 4chan like 2 days before the horrible incident, but it was actually that he posted it, I think, 2 days before he was arrested. So I rewatched it. Somebody in my comments, I think it was my mod, corrected me, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I thought I got that." But I watched it and found out that I had misread. I mean, it's just so much information, right? I mean, I really yesterday felt like I was just spinning. I'm feeling more calm today, which is good because it's just been, whatever retrograde we're in is. Oh, you know what it is? I heard this on NPR this morning. The sun and the earth are closer today than they are every single day of the year. Like today, we're merely like 900 million miles away or something like that. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And there's also 35 falling stars or shooting stars today and tomorrow each day. It's like the busiest sky with shooting stars of the year, I believe. So that was on NPR. There was a lot of stuff going on just all over the place, not just with our case, not just with my life. Let's see. Okay, in one of her skits, she was playing Scarlet when she made a dress out of curtains. Only Carol left in the curtain rod. Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to Google that and see if there's something on YouTube, Susan. Thank you for sharing. That makes me laugh so hard. I could just cry, serious, laughter tears, right? I mean, that fine line between laughing and crying. The moon is in Pisces and something's in retrograde. Is it Mercury that's in retrograde? Makeup date with Jack. Good morning, Jazz and everyone. So let's get right into it. The other big thing in the news is this super sad situation. I don't really follow football. I know that that's un-American, but I like soccer and basketball and some other sports. But anyway, football, that Buffalo Bills safety guy, I wrote down his name, had a heart attack on the field and they stopped the game and resuscitated him and postponed the game for whenever. So it's not looking good. So his name is Damar, if I'm saying his name correctly, Damar Hamlin, 24 years old. So he's been the safety for the Buffalo Bills just since 2021. He was drafted from the University of Pittsburgh and they were playing in Cincinnati, which you guys know I live in Ohio. And he's at a hospital at UC, which if anybody can save him, they can. So I know his mom is there with him and it's not looking good in my humble opinion, just from the outset, just that it took 10 minutes, I think, to restart his heart. So who would have guessed? I mean, I doubt that he had a heart condition that they knew of. He probably wouldn't have been playing college ball and pro ball. So let me see. Hey, Pixie Knickers. Yes, me too. I played soccer for 20 years. Oh, I love soccer. Volleyball is my sport, but I love watching volleyball, soccer, basketball. He got tackled first, stood up, and just dropped. Right. He got tackled. I think he stood up pretty quickly, and then I think he fell backwards. I haven't watched it. I just heard it on the news and saw it on MSNBC this morning. Extremely sad. I mean, like I said, he's in the best hands possible. literally. Like Ohio rocks for a lot of reasons, but medical care is one of those reasons. We have amazing, OSU, UC, and other places as well, even Wright State University, which is much smaller, but excellent with medical care. UC and OSU are like top notch, probably of the entire world, in my opinion, and I think probably in a lot of people's opinions. So the tackle could have knocked his heart out of rhythm, causing cardiac arrest, most likely. Yeah, I don't know if I want to watch that tackle. It's such a dangerous sport and just so sad. Hopefully he will survive, but like I said, it took 10 minutes to revive him, and he's in critical condition. He's in I think a medicated induced coma, and his mom's with him. He's in first level trauma care ICU. It's just really, really harsh. I don't watch football either, but my boyfriend does. We saw this on the news last night, and it's so, so sad. Seeing his teammates in tears was heartbreaking. Yes, absolutely. Liked the videos. Always wish I could love the videos. Dominique, are you talking about the videos of Drip Drop from Crime Circus? Hopefully you're talking about mine. Just kidding. But let's get right into it. There's a lot of information. And, I did my 2 videos yesterday. I was able to review them. I was able to pick out some of the corrections and edit out something from the afternoon one yesterday, just when the computer was unplugged and dying. I edited that out just for simplicity. So I decided from now on, when I edit a live, I'm going to put that in the notes that this is an edited live, and then I can add in any comments that are lost and put notes about, how many views, how many likes, mostly just for my viewers to know. And because the one thing I dislike about editing a live is that you lose all that information, and I really hate to lose people's comments. Like sometimes I won't edit because of that, because I'm just like, I don't want to lose these comments. But I think I just came up with a way to handle it in my brain last night, which is that I can just type out the comments that were lost, right? Let's see. Pixie Knickers, I'm going to go ahead and highlight this one. Have you seen where everyone in 1122 King Road was searched, all except Dylan? What does it mean? I don't know. I saw it on JB Gunner titled, "Why was everyone searched?" And searched by who? Searched by the arrested accused killer? Because it was on Evil Exists that he did a short yesterday that just was showing that the accused killer was following 4 of the members of the household, or was it all 4 of the victims? I'll have to, again, recheck that. So much information, it's hard to take it all in. But the Evil Exists short was excellent, just showing that the accused has 3 accounts that look like they're him and genuinely him, and that he was following them. So, you could call that cyber stalking. Yeah. As a former athlete, I can say we don't want anyone hurt, even the opposing team. Absolutely. I mean, for the most part, I've seen people on the field intentionally try to hurt the other team, or, in basketball. And of course, they'll get pulled out of the game and a yellow card or a red card or technical call. If the ref catches it, sometimes the ref doesn't catch it. But yeah, it's a terrible thing for anybody to do, and just unbelievable that anybody would do that. I know. Miss Anonymous says, imagine how the person who tackled him feels. That's what I was thinking. That's exactly what I was thinking. And the people that were nearby, because usually it's more than one that tackles. So yes, Susan Dodge says, please hit the like button. And I don't think I finished my spiel about everything I say is my opinion only. speculation for conversation, opening up a discussion, hopefully educational. All comments from myself and in the chat are based on fact. We try to be very responsible and reasonable and talk about what we're thinking and how we're feeling about these cases. So if people feel like that's accusatory or too much, you're welcome to chime in, but you're not welcome to attack. None of us are welcome to attack anybody, right? So be honest, be real, just be kind and be polite if you can. And I don't like to block people, but I will block a troll in a heartbeat. If I can see to me that it's obviously a troll, they're just done. If it is questionable that maybe they're a troll, maybe they're not, then I'll just delete the comment and say something. But I try to err on the side of caution. I would rather delete a troll or somebody with a rude comment. I would rather delete them in case they're a troll than allow somebody to stay. And so that's a tough a tightrope to balance, because I don't like to delete anybody. I don't like to block anybody. So just know that. Yes, because of the comments about certain things can help in a case or cases. Good morning. Happy New Year, everyone. And, the news and law enforcement are paying more and more attention to YouTube content creators, internet sleuths, whatever you want to call all of us. They pay attention to the comments too. They pay attention to the chat too. So it's not just the content creators. They pay attention to comments, posts, and responses on other social media platforms. So, it's real. It's not like it's fake because it's the internet. I mean, anything in life can be fake, right? But it's also real. It's just electronics, and we're all trying to keep up. Oh, is Larissa here? I see somebody just tagged Larissa. Where are we? What have I missed? The case still doesn't make sense to me. Absolutely not. No, I'm not. I'm just not buying what people are selling. I'm trying to be really slow to judge. I'm convinced that the accused looks like the killer. I'm not 100% convinced that he is the killer. I'm certainly not 100% convinced that he acted alone. But he looks very guilty, and that doesn't mean that he is guilty. He's been arrested. He wouldn't be arrested if he didn't look very guilty. And we just have to wait and see. And did I finish saying all that about educational? I'm just sorry, you guys. I thought I was going to be all centered and focused. So I do my YouTube videos for education. However, because YouTube's an entertainment platform, I do like to mention that in my spiel, my disclaimer. And yeah, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe if you don't think I'm too scattered. But you know how I am. I like to keep it real. So I want to make sure that I'm not missing some of these comments. I know that I miss a lot of great comments. So let's see. And it's just nice to say hello to everybody. And, I wish I could read everything out loud, but then the tape goes on for a very long time, and I have a lot of notes that I want to cover too. So let me try to do that balance. And Larissa, I just tagged yours. Oh man, when I tell you I've been dragged on TikTok over the Idaho 4 case, I mean, it's crazy. Share. I am, I'm not on TikTok very much. I mean, some TikTok I see on YouTube, but I pretty much just stick with YouTube. Just because it's overwhelming just sticking with the one platform. So, I don't know how people do it when they're with all these platforms. It's just nuts. And maybe it's just because I'm older, I can only do so much, because the younger folks are much more adept with these things. It's creepy AF that he allegedly was lurking online true crime community. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Another unalive 16-year-old Dante De Lawern in Placer County. Good morning. Hey, Marco, was this one that sounds familiar? Was that like a month ago, or is this an even more recent one? Because I know there's been a couple, like another 16-year-old female in either Nevada or Placer County. I don't think we're getting the whole story. About Idaho 4, I don't think we are either. Larissa, the thing that I'm really hung up on is that still shot of the surveillance camera number 3 in the corner club roughly 2 hours before the quadruple homicide. And you see what looks like Maddie's back and Kaylee's back talking to a person who's facing the camera who looks exactly like Jack D. And as far as I know, several reliable sources have confirmed that that's Jack D. And I'm not talking about from doing overlays, because overlays can be deceptive. You can pretty much overlay anything over anything and make it look like anything, in my humble opinion. So I don't trust overlays, even though sometimes they're pretty remarkable. I still don't trust that. So it was Thursday that a few different channels were confirming that it had been confirmed that it was Jack D in the bar with them 2 hours approximately before the homicides. And also straight on, you could see Adam's face. I'll just say it, Atom's face. And then you could see the back of Hoodie Guy, and you could see head on somebody whose face was completely obscured by some kind of manipulation with the photograph, because the rest of them wasn't obscured and nothing else in the photograph was obscured, but their nose and face was like wiped off, like creepy, like a horror movie. And I want to know who that is. I want to know if the other guy is Jack D. And I want to know, where did that picture come from? Like, who leaked it? Where's the video footage? Where's the other 2 cameras with the footage? There's so much electronic information that obviously needs to be kept top secret for the integrity of the investigation. And also, stuff gets leaked. So let's see. So yeah, I'm sorry that you've been dragged over the coals, Larissa. People love to do that. And, part of that is like, we have to be prepared for it. When we make a statement, when we have an opinion, people are going to come at us. And I feel like it's okay to do that without being rude, without attacking, without being mean. If people are going to be doing the rude, attacking, mean, I just don't have time for it. There's so much good in the world. I don't have time for that kind of stupidity. In my opinion, it's stupidity. And we're already covering like the darkest side of humanity. I don't need any more crap of our humanity, right? I mean, I'm here to try to be a positive force. And I feel like that's kind of my shtick with my channel, is that we're trying to be positive. We're trying to keep it real. So we're going to discuss the darkness, but we're trying to make it good. We're trying to learn from it. So I don't think we're getting the whole story. Okay. A former friend of BK confirmed it was his voice in the TikTok video posted on Reddit. Yeah, I've seen some of that. Thank you, Miss Anonymous. My motto is innocent until proven guilty, but everyone involved in a murder case is still suspicious to me. So because I look into everyone, and this Brian guy is now arrested, so everyone is attacking me for it. And, I said it yesterday, chances of him acting alone are, I don't think, very high. I honestly don't think that. I don't think he could have acted alone without an accomplice before, during, or after, an accessory before, during, or after. And anybody who knew anything is just as guilty if they're not coming forward with their information. Sorry for my cleavage there. Again, it might not bother you guys, but it bothers me. So annoying the way stuff moves around, like the hair, the cleavage. What am I going to do? I'm just going to put on my Santa hat. There we go. No, it's not even going to fit. Forget it. I give up. I have a hat somewhere, but I'm just going to go with fluffy hair, and hopefully my boobs will stay under control. It's one of those days. Help. I'm just going to have to turn it off and delete the whole thing. Oh my goodness. That's just not my focus. Like, the content's my focus, and it's just one thing after another. Okay. Suspecting people. So I've officially gone off with nothing but facts and logic. And yeah, you know, we don't want to be conspiracy theorists, but if there's more than one person involved before it happened, then it's a conspiracy. Then they conspired. So I don't know that anybody conspired with him. He might have acted alone, but again, he might not be, the accused might not actually be the one. You just don't know. You just don't know. Something is still off with this case, Heather Mosher says. And see, I feel like what is off with this case to me is that still shot from the corner club surveillance camera coming out the week before someone's arrested, it being determined that it's the ex-boyfriend talking to Kaylee and Maddie, and then in less than 24 hours, somebody else is arrested, and everybody's forgotten all about that. And who is the guy with the face that is being hidden? Who is it? I have to know. We have to know. We don't have to know right now. The police have to know right now. Hopefully, we'll get an answer soon because we are inquiring minds and we want to know. Oh yeah, all the numbers, Pixie Knickers, Corner Club, CC 33, social media, can't remember which one, account created on December 12th. Right. All those numbers, Drip Drop gets into that too in his live that he did yesterday. Yes, who is that other dude at the corner club with the face blurred? It's so creepy to me. The face is obscured. Some little tidbit that I found that I shared in my video yesterday that I wanted to readdress because I want to find this movie is that the accused has two sisters and they're both counselors. They're both in their early 30s. And the one who is, I think, 34 years old played a character in a horror movie in 2011. The movie is called 2 Days, in 2 Days, or it's just called 2 Days. And she played a character named Lori in a horror flick called 2 Days that was produced in 2011. That's creepy too. What is it for me? How no one heard it and was supposedly this one guy, and there was obviously a struggle. It's getting really convoluted that, like, you know, they said that everybody was killed in their bed while asleep, and then nobody was killed in their bed. No one was asleep. I don't know what it is. It certainly sounds like there were a couple that struggled, but we got to remember too, a lot of the information that the accused put online could be misinformation. He could be purposely trying to misguide people, and who knows? I mean, anybody who's going to do something like that is crazy. Anybody who's going to put misinformation on the internet, in my opinion, is crazy. So yeah, 4 days ago with Dante, the weirdo plaster spokeswoman, the lady with the long dark hair, she told everyone not to search for him 4 days ago. So this is another one. This is a new one. It seems to me that there was another Dante really recently. Let's see. Thank you for that. Oh, the bar owner leaked it, Kay and Maine. How do you know that? I mean, that would be the most likely, although it could be an employee too. Very interesting. And why that shot? Because it's straight on of Jack. It's straight on with the guy with the blurred face. It's straight on with Atom. And why that shot from that moment, from 1:32? It could have been that the homicides happened even maybe 60 minutes later. No, because they made their phone calls all the way up into 2:56. So we know that they were killed sometime after 2:56. Unless somebody killed them and then was making phone calls from their phones to Jack's, which is a possibility. You just never know with any of this crap, do we? Oh my goodness. You never hear about the positive, you do really, but you hear the negative more. Right. Exactly. And great. My mod is here. Very cool. He was pulled over 2 times before his arrest. Right, Lisa, he was pulled over twice driving cross country. Somebody said in the chat yesterday. I haven't had a chance to look that up. Placer County in the business of not protecting adolescent citizens while unequivocally protecting drug dealers. Bingo. Ding, ding, ding. And yeah, you're not being facetious at all. Oh, you mean with the nice comment. Right. Gotcha. Did you see the photo from the memorial on campus? Brian was pictured there. Well, there was the memorial on the same day as his arrest. So you must be talking about the candlelight vigil, the first memorial, the one where Jack D was up on the stage with the whole family, and where Jake, Maddie's boyfriend, spoke, and a bunch of other people spoke. I will look at that because I have found the whole video. I think it's about 30 minutes of the entire memorial. It was on one of the news stations. I can put it in the comments or in my next live if other people want to find that, because I was so happy to find that finally. And I wanted to go over it with a fine-tooth comb, and I will look for this MF there. Sisters and parents are all therapists of some kind. Yeah, isn't that wild? And again, he looks guilty as sin, but that doesn't mean that he is guilty as sin. Jazz, check Marco DM post, 16-year-old unalive. Okay, you mean a post that he did outside of this, or do you mean in the chat? I'm going to try not to go back in the chat just because I want to try to keep up with you guys in the chat, and you guys get ahead of me so quickly, which is great. I love your comments. No one has mentioned that one of the 3 guys that were on the body cam and cited for underage drinking at Banfield the night of the murders looks like one of the 2 also arrested in Pennsylvania, same day as Brian. Nobody has said anything about those other 2 people that were arrested. They were arrested in Pennsylvania. I didn't know that. I thought that they were arrested in connection with the homicide. And I want to state the names because it's just so confusing. So I'm not trying to dox people. When it's public information, it's public information. And so we've got the 2 dudes that were arrested, Jason Elkins and Dylan White. So Jason Elkins and Dylan White were arrested in Pennsylvania in connection with the quadruple homicide on the same day as Brian. I knew that they were arrested, but I didn't know it was in Pennsylvania. That's crazy. I think his father was a custodian and mother a substitute teacher at his elementary school, the same school he worked as a security guard, Pleasant Valley. Sisters are mental health professionals. I know, isn't that creepy that he was a security guard at a freaking school with kids? Curious and curiouser. Yes. Key in Maine says, because once a place gives the video to the police, they can show the public. The police ask them not to, but they can't stop it from happening. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't really know the inner workings of that. I know a lot about law enforcement, but there's a lot that I don't know about law enforcement. And even the things that I do know, I could be misinformed, or it could be different places. Like every case is different. Every state has different laws. So let's get all caught up. He's walking across the football field. And Miss Anonymous, I think you're talking about one of the 2 guys. So either Jason Elkins or Dylan White that was arrested. He's walking across the football field in that video. What? Yeah, this stuff is insane. No proof that BK's walking at the vigil. No proof that's BK walking at the vigil. Thanks, Kay. Good to know. Yeah, we don't want to jump to conclusions, but we certainly want to ask the questions. Yes, he was stopped in Indiana twice by police, once for tailgating a car and again for speeding. If only those were the worst things that he's done, huh? I mean, tailgating is so dangerous. Blue jacket. Thank you, Miss Anonymous. So look for the blue jacket in that tape if we come across the tape. Hello, all of you gorgeous people, and Happy New Year. Hello, allegedly. And let's see, Jason Elkins for grand theft. And then what was Dylan White arrested for? They were arrested in Pennsylvania for grand theft auto, but are they in connection with the case? Like, do they have anything to do with Moscow or with BK in Scranton? Okay. It is possible they were stealing. What? That's a great question. Makeup date with Jack. I'm going to highlight that. What a brilliant question. Is it possible they were stealing BCK car at his request? What a great question. I think they were arrested in Meridian, Idaho. Not sure if that's any connection between the guys. I think Brian did this solo. Wow. Zoomed in version of the visual on the field looks exactly like BK, same clothes and everything. Wow, Marco. You guys are just blowing my mind. So yeah, I wanted to try to like dial it back as far as like not being all high strung. Like I felt like I did a pretty good job in my lives yesterday, but like I just want to really calm down. Like that's my goal with doing a live, because I know there's more lives and more videos than any of us can possibly watch and keep up with. But I feel like I've got a lot of good information and I want to try to set this tone of calm. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'm disappointed that we have to wonder these days, especially after Kylie, about law enforcement and how much trust we can put into some LE. It's going to take a long time for law enforcement to rebuild the trust and to eradicate the bad apples. It's going to take a while, but it needs to happen. It needs to happen like last week, like last month, like last year. It has to happen. I heard the cops were watching BK for 27 days prior to the arrest. I believe it, Gypsy, because he was posting all kinds of crazy stuff, like especially the stuff that he thought he was posting anonymously on 4chan, because you don't have a name, you just have a number. But of course, they can take that number and look it up and find the person for situations like this when there's illegal activity and it's public safety. Thanks for posting you. I'm in 413 Massachusetts. Okay. Chief Fry was asked if anyone worked with BK to commit these murders, and he said no. Well, yeah, that's interesting that he says that, since he usually says, you know, I can't show you my cards. I got to keep everything close to the chest. So that concerns me, that he's revealing that makes me suspicious. Like, why would he reveal that? Maybe so that he can just say, well, we got the bad guy off the street. We're awesome heroes. We've done our job. So now everybody be nice to us. Nice, Marco. I'm in Bristol County. Hello, neighbor. May I please ask the designer of your blouse? Not trying to be forward. I just love the design. Thank you. Well, you know, it's wraparound is like, I think, one of the best designs. So I'm the designer of the blouse. So thank you. But yeah, I mean, every designer has the wraparound thing. I love wraparound for a lot of reasons, but the cleavage is the one thing I don't like. I usually try to wear like a cami underneath, or even have a safety pin, but that always gets bent, contorted. So Marco, I live in the infamous Triangle. Miss Anonymous, are you talking about Tri-Cities there in Washington State? Because I wanted to address that. You know, I lived in Western Washington for like almost 20 years. But I've been to Eastern Washington just a handful of times, and I totally forgot which cities were the Tri-Cities, but I looked it up and wrote it down so that we can all kind of have a picture of what's going on. Tri-Cities are Kennewick, Pasco, and Richland. And, you know, I was wondering, are the Tri-Cities Pullman, Moscow, and Spokane? Pullman and Moscow are super tiny towns. Pullman is 32,000, and I'm not sure if that's with the 32,000 at the university or without the 32,000 at the university. And then Moscow is about 25,000. And again, I think that includes the 11,000 that are at the university, meaning that Moscow is really just like 14,000. Spokane is 230,000. It's the second largest city in Washington State, it says, but I don't believe that because I lived in Olympia 25, 30, over 30 years ago. And Olympia area was 100,000 back then, but that was Tumwater, Lacey, and Olympia. And it's grown tremendously. So I would bet you there's way over 250,000 in Olympia. Tacoma's a big city. That can't be right. Spokane can definitely not be the second biggest city in Washington state. That's got to be misinformation. It's interesting because when you look stuff up online, you can get a whole bunch of different answers to the same question. Like you have to know what you're looking for and you have to know what's accurate. If Spokane is 230,000 people, then I'm going to say no way. Tacoma's got to be more than that. And the Olympia area, even just Olympia without Tumwater and without Lacey right now, is probably 250,000. And then you got Bellingham up north, which is smaller. But you've also got Everett, which is probably about that same size of Spokane. Anyway, sorry. The distance of Spokane from where the murders happened is about 80 miles. So depending on how fast you drive, over an hour to maybe 90 minutes, depending on traffic and all of that. Anyway, Tri-Cities, when people talk about the Tri-Cities in Eastern Washington, they're meaning Kennewick, Pasco, and Richland. So I missed a whole bunch. I'm going to just try to stay where we're at rather than go back and check it. Sorry, you guys. Marco says, sorry, we have Massachusetts side convo here. There's a triangle here of unexplained things. Oh, you're fine. Thanks for apologizing. But yeah, I mean, I just can't read all the comments and keep up with my notes because I have a lot of content that I want to share with you guys. And yeah, you're welcome to have your side convos. I might get involved and screw them up or not get involved or maybe even get involved and not screw them up. Who knows? So Makeup Date with Jack says, Pixie Knicker's right. It's nuts that these crazy alleged murderers think they are anonymous on these forums. Their need to tell all overrides everything for them. I wanted to talk about that. The compulsive behavior, the poor impulse control. Yeah, I mean, it's thank goodness that they're telling on themselves, right? Thank goodness. So you don't have to apologize for confusing me, but thank you. So let me just briefly kind of give you a thumbnail of what I want to cover today. There is a lot, but I wanted to talk about BTK's daughter, who did a fantastic interview with Brian Enton. I caught the whole interview. The woman is remarkable. So I want to talk about that. It's super important to me to discuss this morning because that's, I think, extremely relevant. I wanted to talk a little bit about, as a therapist and actively listening, that not only as a therapist, but just as a friend, like that is like the nicest thing you can do for anybody, is to really hear what they're saying, to actively listen without giving advice, right? But just to take it in, just to hear them, just to see them, just to witness them. And, you know, when you're doing police work or mental health crisis work, which I've done, the danger to self and other evaluations, I did that actually in Washington State. You have very little to zero margin for error when you're dealing with life and death. You have to know that going into the job. Law enforcement, mental health, other jobs too. Like, you know, I don't need to name all of them, but you guys know if you're in those jobs, when you have very little to zero margin for error, you just have to deal with that. And you just have to accept that you're going to do the best that you can. And that's all you can do because you're just one person. And that's a lot. If you're going to do your best, that's a lot that you're going to, you know, get in there and try to help. But you just have to know no margin for error. You've got to be on your game. The poor impulse control, the telling on self, just the stress, anxiety, depression, just that, right? I mean, with post-traumatic stress disorder, with compulsive disorders, anxiety, stress, and depression, can all be treated with antidepressants. Even OCD can be treated with antidepressants. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about that. And even addressing a video that I saw Lake Time Living made about how antidepressants can't help you. Because I think that they can. I don't think that they're a magic bullet, but I think that they can be of great assistance if you're doing the work that you need to do as well. Definitely not a substitute for counseling or for making the changes that you need to make in your life. So chronic post-traumatic stress disorder is what Dennis Rader's daughter has been dealing with her whole life, but especially since it turned out that he was a serial killer and she did not know that. And then, Steve Gonzalez, who I really admire him and appreciate him, and my heart breaks for him. I wanted to mention, if you guys haven't heard this yet, I'm pretty sure he goes by the name Gonzo, which I think is adorable, thinking of Gonzo from the Muppets. But I'm not 100% sure of that, but I'd seen that a couple places, that Steve Gonzalez, I'm not saying Gonzalez, there we go, Steve Gonzalez goes by Gonzo. It's a lot easier to say than Gonzalez, because we always want to go to the one that's more common with the Z in it. And he said in an interview in the last 24 hours, I think, or at least since the guy was arrested, the accused, Steve Gonzo said it was better to him if this was indeed somebody who did not know his daughter than if it was somebody that she knew and trusted, and that the family knew and trusted, and that betrayal would just add to the injury, which I was really happy to hear him say that, because that's why I have wanted to be incorrect about Jack D. Since go. I've always wanted it to not be him. It was looking like it was him. I'm still not convinced that he didn't have any involvement. I want to know why that photograph that might be him at the corner club isn't being talked about right now. But I was really happy to hear Steve Gonzo say that he felt better if this accused killer is the killer, that it wasn't somebody that his daughter knew and trusted, and it wasn't somebody that his family knew and trusted. I'm telling you, people, if you don't know, betrayal is one of the worst things we can experience as human beings, in my humble opinion. One just has to be patient finding the effective depressant. I think you mean antidepressant. Can be frustrating, but well worth it. Makes me wonder how supportive his parents were while he was growing up, just thinking out loud. Yeah. And, there's some antidepressants that I think are bad, Paxil. And then there's other antidepressants that I think are really good, that they've been around, tried and true. Prozac, Wellbutrin, and let's see, there's one or two others, but there's probably 10 antidepressants out there. Those are the ones that get pushed by the drug companies. Paxil, I've heard nothing but bad things across the boards. I've maybe heard one person say that Paxil saved their life, but with Prozac and Wellbutrin, I've heard a lot of stories. Buspar is one that's really good that you don't hear about anymore because it's not pushed, but it's an old tried and true. And then, a lot of times they use a couple different medications together to bolster and augment the effects. So, it's kind of a cocktail that's individual. And if you have a good prescriber and a good therapist, I think that it's safe for most people to try them. There is a disclaimer that you need to be very careful about any kind of danger to self or others, especially when you're getting started on a new medication or changing medications or adjusting medications. So BTK is Dennis Rader, serial killer, Pixie Knickers said. And yeah, we're going to talk about that. His daughter, and I didn't get her name, you guys probably got it, spoke at length with Brian Enton yesterday. An excellent interview. And she's so articulate and open and honest. And the poor girl has been through hell, but thank goodness she's willing to talk about it and share and educate and be educated, because that's how we can all be safer. So she'd been following the Moscow case and had no hint of any correlation. And then as soon as she found out about the professor that the accused studied under, that wrote the book, that wrote the biography of BTK and knows her dad really well, and I wrote her name down, you guys gave it to me yesterday. As soon as she knew that that author was the accused professor, she thought, oh crap, he probably has tried to get a hold of my father, because that professor and BTK know each other very well. And the fact that he studied under that person, she just thought for sure that he's at least tried to get a hold of her dad. She didn't know if they had contact, but it really shook her up because she'd already been following this case. It was already terrifying to her. It already was like hitting her very personally. And then finding out that there is probably some type of connection, or there is some type of connection, maybe indirect, right? What was that professor's name? I think my mod gave it to me yesterday. And I'm going to look real quick to see if I can find it without... Oh, here it is. Catherine Ramsland. So Catherine Ramsland wrote the book on BTK and has had regular contact with him. So BTK's daughter was afraid that this guy, the accused, had most likely tried to contact BTK, because a lot of people try to contact him. You know, they get like fans almost. Some of it is people that are just trying to learn to help with combating that type of violence and that type of insanity. Betrayal is terrible. I agree with you and Kylie's dad. Yeah, it is awful. Is just awful. Just trust, trust versus mistrust is the foundation of our entire psychosocial development. So trust versus mistrust. We either learn to trust that we're going to get our needs met in the world, or we're afraid that we're not going to get our needs met in the world. And that trust versus mistrust happens from the age of 0 to 2. And it is absolutely the fundamental cornerstone that the rest of our psychosocial development is built on. So it's a huge issue. Trust is a huge issue. And when someone violates your trust, it's very, very hard to rebuild it. It's not impossible, but it must be rebuilt. It's not going to come back by itself, right? And let's see. Yeah, I'd say don't experiment with meds. I see a little bit of conversation about that. Of course, always work with a professional. General practitioners can prescribe, psychiatrists can prescribe, nurse practitioners, like psychiatric nurse practitioners, which personally I think are the best resource, the psychiatric nurse practitioners. But it just depends. And finding the right person for you is what's most important. Justice for all the victims. Yeah. I don't know if anyone believes in tarot, but I pulled a card yesterday asking if the weapon will be found, not when or where. It said yes, and I hope so. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure about how tarot works, but yeah, I just think that life is full of mysteries and that anything is possible. Anything. Miracles do happen. And hopefully the weapon will be found, because that type of information is crucial in solving a mystery. It was truly an eye-opener for me. I learned so much. I just don't want to wait a year experimenting with different meds. Absolutely. If you get on the right medication, my background is in mental health. I'm not somebody that ever prescribed, but worked closely with prescribers and with people getting their prescriptions. If you get the right medication, like Zoloft is another really good one. They say it's going to take 6 weeks for its full effect, but you literally, if it's the right medication, you'll feel it pretty much instantly, like within 24 to 48 hours. You're not going to get the full picture for 6 weeks, But if it's the right medication at the, you know, it will take care of you quickly. You can get quick results. And I just think it's another tool to have in your toolbox with support, professional support, social support, self-care, all the basics. Pets can be some of the best therapy, right? Especially for anxiety disorders. They are amazing. So, let's see. Did I kind of get over the thumbnail of what I wanted to discuss? And here we're already at 55 minutes and I'm just getting started. So yeah, this might be a 2-hour one, you guys. So brace yourself, buckle up. I'll try to keep it under that, but there's just a lot of information. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I mentioned that right at the end yesterday. Somebody brought that up. It is a comedy. It is a musical. It is a masterpiece, in my opinion. However, it's also very real. And I think that people that are British might recognize that, and people that are American might really take it with a grain of salt, not realizing the issue that they're addressing in that movie is very close to what we would call Illuminati type of stuff. The rich people in the castle inviting in the unsuspecting guests, chasing around, frightening and killing the Meatloaf character, and gets into all that crazy satanic stuff, adrenochrome, huge crazy stuff. So Rocky Horror Picture Show, I love that movie, but I think people need to understand that it's not just a silly, cute, funny, gory movie. It's touching on some very real issues in a very lighthearted way. But seriously, cannibalism, right there. It's a brilliant movie. The guy who plays Riff Raff with the blonde hair, the butler, he's the guy who wrote the movie, Riff Raff. And, Tim Curry got his start with that movie. Susan Sarandon, the guy who played Brad, whose name I can't remember, he did not get nearly as famous as Susan Sarandon, but he did have a very healthy acting career from that movie. Susan Sarandon, Janet and Brad were the only two American actors that replaced the stars of the play. Rocky Horror Picture Show was a play over in England, and then it was such a hit, they went over there and turned it into a movie, start to finish, 6 weeks of filming. So it has a really cool history. And then especially with Riff Raff being the author, the creator of it, a lot of people know that, but a lot of people don't know that. So Riff Raff was hanging out with Magenta, right? But yeah, Tim Curry, he's been pretty much a rock star ever since. So I was going to look up some stuff about Ted Bundy, but I'm going to leave that for the next one since we have so much information already. I was talking yesterday about Yates, and we'll maybe leave that one for the next one too, because the BTK stuff is huge. I mean, it's looking like, I'm even going to say, even though we are not going to give any cute name to the accused, that his initials are so close that could well have played in with his development and his obsession and his criminally insane development, basically, with his problems. So also, I wanted to mention, for anybody who doesn't know, Idaho is a very libertarian state. So a lot of people do know that. It's a very white supremacist state. And these are things that we need to pay attention to, I think, with this case, and especially if there's a trial coming up. It's a very libertarian state, meaning that the people there don't want any government involvement in their lives. They almost want anarchy. Libertarians are not anarchists, but in my opinion, that's a good way to describe it. So I don't want to get into politics. I try to stay out of politics and religion, but I do think it's really important to know that Idaho is Idaho, right? Oh, okay. Identity crisis with the drug use, BTK. Interesting. Very interesting. Yes. Identity crisis. You know, the problem with people with personality disorders is that they don't have a healthy ego. They don't have a sense of self. All of us, or if you, we'll just assume that we're all normal people, right? I say there is no normal, but normal people have a healthy ego. That doesn't mean that you're egotistical. It doesn't mean that you care more about yourself than anyone else, that you're not compassionate. Having a healthy ego is part of a healthy human development. So in mental health, especially with personality disorders, I call it having a porous ego, having like holes in your ego, like Swiss cheese ego, you know, not having a sense of self. And that is when people are highly susceptible to other people's opinions and thoughts of them. Like they're so vulnerable. That's the thing with personality disorders that a lot of people don't realize. Because people with personality disorders are so hurtful and harmful, they're also so vulnerable. Like they're in constant pain. They cannot tolerate any criticism at all. They cannot tolerate anybody disliking them at all. They're just in chronic emotional turmoil. I think of it like metaphorically, they have third-degree burns all over their skin and everything hurts them. They have the thinnest skin. And then to overcompensate for that, they can be the meanest, cruelest, least empathetic, compassionate people on the planet. Personality disorders are real. They are difficult to live with, whether you're the person with the personality disorder or somebody in your family or somebody that you work with is the person with the personality disorder. They create pain for everyone around them. Misery loves company, and it's profound. So most people in prison have personality disorders. I think it's safe to say, you know, obviously like the narcissistic personality disorder, the antisocial personality disorder, but borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, which, you know, typically the histrionic is people that are extremely dramatic about everything. And a lot of it is that they feel invisible. They don't trust that anybody in this world is ever going to help them to meet their needs. So in order to gain confidence that the world is safe, the least bit safe, they have to manipulate everyone. They manipulate everyone in their path. There's no way you can be around somebody with a personality disorder and not feel the pain. So, and it's something that people are learning more about in like our general population, but for a long time it was like the most mysterious part of mental health. And for the most part, personality disorders used to be thought of as untreatable. They're still thought of as mostly untreatable with medication. However, they are treatable with therapy, but the problem is that the person has to drive that car, so to speak. They have to be the one that wants the change. They have to be the one that's seeking help. Nobody can make anybody get help, right? Barbara says, I figured he preferred Idaho for some legal loopholes, possibly. Oh my goodness, Barbara, that's ingenious. For all we know, he picked moving to just outside of Idaho so that he could commit his crimes in Idaho. Wow. That's huge. That is so profound. I need to write that down. Let's see. Seriously. I don't want to forget that that's where I want to start my next video, probably. Loopholes. Wow. Thank you, Barbara. That is absolutely brilliant. Seriously, you guys, she gets a gold star. I kid you not. He probably did pick Idaho to perform these dreadful crimes in. Normal is only a setting on the dryer, in my opinion. That's cute. I love that. I have never heard that one. Let's highlight that too. Yeah. Dang. As opposed to Pennsylvania or Washington or whatever state. So yeah, Washington is very liberal with the mental health laws. In most states, any doctor can get a person put into a psychiatric hold for 72 hours for further evaluation, if they think that they're a danger to self or others for mental health purposes. Washington state and Alaska are the only two states in the country that really protect a person's civil rights in a situation like that, where basically you're free to be as crazy as you want to be, as long as you're not in creating imminent danger for yourself or someone else. So that word imminent is key. And so that was one of the jobs that I had back in Seattle a long time ago, was doing psychiatric intervention, assessment, and referral for people that were danger to self or others due to a mental health disorder. So, pretty much everybody in jail is a danger to self and others, and many of them, it's due to a mental health disorder. But it's just, a legal terminology and freedom that is kind of like a libertarian type of freedom, that you're free to not take your medication, you're free to be insane, you're free to be dangerous, as long as it's not imminent danger. I don't agree with that at all. I don't think that's any kind of freedom, to be free to not take your medication, to be free to be crazy. My personal opinion is that a psychiatric disorder, untreated, is a prison of its own. And when people need help, they might not realize they need help. That sometimes is part of the disorder. So anyway, yeah. The mentor, what's her name? The woman who wrote the book on BTK, Dr. Catherine Ramsland, she is going to get drugged through the fire, you guys. She's going to get grilled for being a specialist, for being an expert, and then for having the accused under her wing and being his mentor and not recognizing if he is the crazy psycho killer. She will be kind of in trouble professionally for not knowing that. And she is aware of that. She's 100% understanding that that's part of her job as a professor in this special field and as an expert in BTK and other people like him. Yeah, she should have been able to identify that this guy, if he is the killer, that he was dangerous. And that's not to say that she's done anything illegal, but just that people are going to question her judgment and her abilities as a professional if he could sneak by her. And that doesn't mean that she's not a good professional. It just might mean that creeps like that are really good at wearing masks. They're really good at sneaking by, even sneaking by the experts. So that's the scary part. Michael McAllister says, Kevin Neese has been off for a little bit on his channel, but I heard that Kevin Neese is doing good, and that is what I heard yesterday. Right. He said he was going to take a couple weeks off for the holidays. I think he was traveling around visiting family or something. 26-year-old says, Mom, what is normal? They think they know it all. Nope. Right. I know. I like to say, like, normal is vanilla. Is vanilla normal? Chocolate's normal. I mean, normal is so relative, and what's normal changes. Like, you can have things in your life be normal, and then you have a new normal depending on changes that occur around you. Like Ted Bundy fooled Anne Rule. Yeah, one-way street. Anne Rule and Ted Bundy worked together at the King County crisis line. And when I did the psychiatric assessments for danger to self and others in King County, I worked with a lot of people who had been there when Ted and Anne were there. They knew Ted, they knew Anne, and they knew what great friends they were. They loved working together side by side. They were like best friends. And I think for Anne, when she found out about him, that was the first book she wrote, I think, was the one about Ted Bundy called The Stranger Beside Me, because she knew him well, she thought, for many years. I don't think he started killing until after he stopped volunteering for the King County Crisis Hotline, but I could be incorrect. And again, we don't know, because we only know what he has shared. And you have to take everything these people say with a grain of salt, right? Like the Green River Killer admits to possibly as many as 90 homicides, but there could be many more that he forgets or that he's not willing to share. And sometimes these people take credit for work that they didn't do. They take credit for crimes that they didn't do because they're so crazy. They want the notoriety. So that's one of the things BTK's daughter was afraid of with the accused right now, is that he's trying to possibly become, quote unquote, the greatest psycho killer of all times, to go down in the academic books with that type of infamy. That can be their goal, that's why it's important to figure it out and to know these people and to learn from them. And that's why criminology has become such a popular field, because the more we know, the more we can protect public safety from people that are dangerous like this. And it can be tough to judge people that are dangerous like this. This is why I've told my people on this channel again and again, that book called The Gift of Fear by Gavin de Becker is so helpful. Even if you're already really good at discerning when somebody is a danger to self or others. I was already really good at that job, actually, discerning people being danger to self or others, specifically due to a mental disorder, not just because they're violent. But then I read that book after I was already not even doing that job anymore. And that book really helped me to fine tune. Another book a lot like that is called Blink. And Blink to me is kind of a regurgitation of Gavin de Becker's Gift of Fear, but it's the same idea. And it is, I think, still a good book. I just think he should have given Gavin de Becker the credit that Gavin deserved, because to me it seemed really obvious that he read Gavin's book and just basically rewrote the same book. I could be incorrect. But anyway, it's you can always fine tune further and further, because people can be really sneaky and tricky. And, especially when you have substances involved, drugs and alcohol involved, you just, in some sense, you can't be too careful. You don't know the stranger beside you. Some of picking and choosing who to allow to be close to you and who's safe, some of that is skill. And I hate to say it, but some of it is just luck. So I think it can happen to any of us, no matter how wise we are, no matter how careful we are, that people like that are tricky. The Ted Bundys are tricky. The BTKs are tricky. When BTK was first caught, the daughter didn't believe it. And she was actively making alibis for her dad, because she knew that there's no way he would hurt a fly. And she was trying to get the information of what periods of time did he need accounting for so that she could be his alibi? She did that on her own. I don't think anybody asked her to do that. I don't think her mom or her dad asked her to do that. But her mom, I think, was kind of doing the same thing because they were in denial and they didn't realize it. Once they realized that he was the killer, they did all the right stuff and, were upfront and honest with themselves and everyone else. But of course, ever since, they get accused of stuff all the time, because people can be mean, people can be rude. They've done the best that they can in that situation. I was just amazed that his daughter was willing to have this conversation with Brian Enton yesterday. And obviously all the therapy that she's done and a lot of brilliance and just being real. It was priceless, absolutely priceless. I highly recommend checking out that interview. So let's read a few of your comments here. A One-Way Street says, I really enjoyed Blink, and yes, he did. That was going to be my first question is, did you read Gavin de Becker's? That's so cute. That's so funny. Thank you for reaffirming what I have really felt solid that I've always known. Because that was a super popular book. He made tons of money and he should have given a cut to Gavin, but Gavin did well for himself too. He was also one of Oprah's favorites. So I feel like he will try and put the blame elsewhere. And I'm imagining that you might be talking about the accused. Caroline says, personality disorder or no, at the end of the day, we all possess free will. Our behaviors are our personal choices, especially once diagnosed. Right. And people have got to want to change, whether that's addictions or personality disorders. It's got to come from within. Like sometimes people can do an external intervention, but the inspiration has to be the person that is making that decision. So sounds like a split personality. Well, that's such an old term, split personality, like the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. And, sometimes I think it's helpful to go back to the basics, like the brass tacks, the nuts and bolts. From my experience as a mental health clinician, I really think you just have two diagnoses. You have healthy and you have not healthy. And everything that's healthy falls under the one category and everything that's not healthy falls under the other category. I'm being 100% serious. Like it's that simple to some extent. Of course, the more detailed and more specific and accurate we can be in our language and our thoughts, our ideas, the more helpful that we can be. But sometimes it gets overwhelming, and I think it's important to keep it simple. Just being healthy versus being unhealthy. Every little thing helps. Everything you can do to help take care of yourself, your physical health, your mental health, your spiritual health, your well-being, and getting into like damage control with even drugs and alcohol. Today is the 3rd of January. January is called dry month, I think, in Europe, because a lot of people in Europe drink, right? I mean, it's kind of the norm that everybody drinks. And then people way overindulge during the holidays, and then they try to clean it up in January. So it's a common practice, I think, even in America, for people to have their New Year's resolution and to try to drink less or to stop drinking for the month of January or try to stop drinking altogether. If you're not seriously committed to that and doing the work and getting help with a 12-step program or with a professional or both, it's called white knuckling it. And it's just really hard. But my point is that with damage control, that less is more. If you're struggling with addictions or you're just struggling with having overindulged over the holidays, just try to cut back. That if you can do less, that's going to be much better for you with substance abuse, right? Any kind of substance use. And, for a lot of us, myself included, that are addicts, it's not possible to do it without professional help. So let me just get right off of that little soapbox. Anyway, Normal or common sense, both of them are very overrated as a puzzle piece of sicko monster, and this killing reminded me of the movie called Scream. And where is the lady that is getting away? And see, I don't really watch horror movies, so I know Scream is very popular. I've never seen it. Don't really want to. I don't think Kaylee realized how dangerous he was, allegedly. Well, did she know him? Is this coming out in the last 24 hours? Because I know that the father thought that there was a connection, but what hadn't stated it yet. So let's see. Michael McAllister says, yes, it is very important to hear about her story yesterday. I'm thinking he's talking about BTK's daughter. I didn't look up her name, so if anyone has her name and put it in here, I missed it. If you want to put it in again, I'll try to catch it. My husband and I have been moving around a lot the past 3 years. We don't have a chance to settle and make friends. We talk about stranger danger all the time because it's only us most of the time. Right. Right. And, people like BTK and Raider, sorry, that looks like it's just like a spam call. Dennis Rader, people like that are really good at fooling you. The Green River Killer, his wife, like many, went into sheer denial. It was just like, there's no way this wonderful gentleman, this awesome individual who's so calm, cool, and collected, and just so easy to be around and so nice to be around. She thought there's no way he did this. They had to have gotten it wrong. I was talking about it yesterday, how he was a truck driver and there was some paint, some yellow paint off of his truck that got rubbed off, I think on some type of cement pillar when he was trying to abduct a victim, but the victim got away. But they knew that his truck had hit this pillar and they got some of the yellow paint off of the pillar, and then they were able to analyze it. They were able to call around people in the painting industry and find out who used that yellow paint for what. They were able to track down the trucking company that he worked for because it was his work truck, and they were able to arrest him because of the yellow paint and the fine detective work that they did. So I like to give kudos in that case, although they did some weird stuff once they arrested him and housed him in a corporate office park area with all the lawyers that were working on his case and him walking around freely. I spoke about that yesterday. I won't get back into it. Anyway, Green River Killer, one of the most prolific killers of all time, his wife thought they have got to have this wrong. And you hear that with a lot of these stories, that there's just no way on earth that this could be right. And then, they realize the evidence is abundantly clear that, yeah, they were just profoundly duped for their entire lives. I think in the Green River Killer's case, I think they were married for about 25 years. I think she divorced him a couple of years after his arrest. And, I've seen interviews with her. So she's a lot like Dennis Rader's daughter, that she's very open and willing to talk about it, even though it's very, very difficult. They've had a lot of professional help, and they're trying to get the information out there because they know how dangerous these people can be and how hard they are to spot. So they're trying to help educate the public about that. And I just commend them for that. I think it's amazing. So Carrie Gigi says, always trust your gut feelings, intuition. Always. But some people don't know how to, because we kind of get trained out of it. We get, especially as women, we get told that we're being emotional, irrational. That we are imagining things, the gaslighting. So sometimes we have to retrain ourselves. And like I said earlier, even if you're already good at trusting your gut, you can always get better. You can always sharpen those skills. And that's like that title of that movie, Blink, is like, in the blink of an eye, you're taking in 1,000 or 1,000,000 or infinite number of pieces of information. and you're analyzing it very quickly with your animal instinct without even realizing it. That's what trusting your gut is. So, and that's where the title of the book comes from. And that's where Gavin de Becker's title comes from, that fear is a gift, because fear is your body and your mind responding to that information, telling you what you need to do. So you need to pay attention to it. When you get that first response, pay attention to it, because it's almost always right, if not always right. I think he will embrace what he did so he can go on record as the killer. I think you're probably talking about the accused. He ain't doing itself no favors, cussing out people trying to expose itself. Shoot. And I know, Dilly, you said yesterday that you are referring to the accused as an it, and I think that that is a fine way to handle the situation. Absolutely. Everything has been so stigmatized, it's hard to discern and try to rectify the situation. I'm not sure which situation you are referring to. Barbara says, I agree, Justice. No two ways around it, good or bad, negative or positive. Oh, are you talking about the mental health diagnosis of healthy or not healthy? I mean, seriously, as I got more refined in my skills as a mental health professional and learning more subdiagnoses and diagnoses, it just got so confusing. I was like, you're either good or you're not good. You're either feeling good or you're not feeling good. You're either safe or you're not safe. Even people who study personality disorders often can't reconcile how potentially dangerous these people can be. A 21-year-old kid would be fairly clueless. Yeah, absolutely. So again, I don't know if information is coming out that Kaylee did, in fact, know the accused, because I know she was 21 and Maddie was 21. Deanna says, I think the accused will try to fight it and plead not guilty. I just hope that he doesn't unalive himself before people can get the truth and get justice. You know, I heard yesterday that he was taken off of the unaliving watch, and I thought that was really bizarre. Like, no, it would be horrible if something like that were to happen. The families deserve to find out the information. You use more energy being angry than you do being happy. Yes. And anger is so toxic. So we're just at about an hour and a half, and I am afraid that I just lost that one that I was trying to tag. So I'm just going to go ahead and get caught up, because here we are at 90 minutes. I kind of remember a movie called Sybil and Three Faces of Eve. I love older movies. Just a couple of names dealing with personality disorders. Joanne Woodward starring in both. Sally Fields as Sybil. Yeah, we all remember Sybil. The people in our age range probably. And yeah, I mean, the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde is one way to look at it. Harsh was saying that the DNA was found in the drain, so he was in such a hurry when he left that he almost wrecked the car, but he took the time to wash. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I keep up with my Harsh, but I haven't seen the one that he made today because I was already kind of late getting on my live. So I thought, even though it was only 10 minutes, I thought I'll watch it once I'm done. It is a narcissist, always wants fame. Why is BK saying they arrest another suspect? Right. And we spoke about that yesterday. I know a lot of people have been speaking about that. He might be just trying to be a smart ass and throw a monkey wrench into just trying to screw with everyone's mind. And he might be wondering if anybody that he knew has been arrested, like his father, for instance, because his father drove with him. So that could be called aiding and abetting a fugitive in the event that his father had any inkling. Or if there were any other people, again, accomplices or accessories before, during, or after the fact. And then those other two guys that were arrested in Pennsylvania. So let's see. Going over my notes here. I'm going to try to go over my notes and wrap it up. But Lucky Lady says, Sweetie Pilo said Kaylee possibly had one night stand with BK. Last night in her video, she had a family member interview. Well, that would be insane. Huh. If that's true. I mean, just because, I know Sweetie Pilo is a very responsible content creator. But we don't know that she's been given accurate information. So I think we need to, of course, wait and see. Pixie Knicker says, I just don't see Kaylee with BCK. Yeah. I'm sure that if that's true, it'll become apparent pretty quickly. People are going to be running with that for sure. Thanks for filling me in on that information. On the ride back, which was long, wonder what him and his father talked about. He can't even keep his mouth shut in jail, screaming at everybody and trying to show his stuff. Well, did show his stuff. Are you saying like his man stuff, like his package, his junk, or like the stuff in his brain? Either way. Yuck. Gross. So that's why they don't want to have to be on suicide watch with him, because they don't want to like watch him pulling out his junk. Ugh, what a pig. I don't see Jack's appeal either. Yeah, that's a cute one, Miss Anonymous. I'm gonna go ahead and highlight that. That is funny. Yeah. Dilly Owen says, yes, there was a female inmate, and he was telling everybody in jail he's going to cut them up. And yeah, he took his clothes all the way off. So I don't know how a judge is going to work with that. Very difficult. Well, yeah, they'll have to medicate him. I was trying to frame it politely. Miss Anonymous says, that's cute. I don't see Jack's appeal either, Miss Anonymous. Everybody needs love, even the creepers. Right. And the whole thing with like negative attention being better than no attention, we all know that that's how toddlers are, but that's how people with personality disorders are too. They would rather have your negative attention, because without your attention, they are invisible. Like, seriously, it is the most frightening reality that these people live in, where they feel like they are absolutely nothing without your attention. So they try to get your positive attention in order to feel like they're important. And if they can't get your positive attention, they will take the negative attention. They have to have attention. Like, they have to have attention. They feel like they're falling off the face of the earth if they don't have attention. You guys understand that? I know you do. I know there's a lot of you out there that are like, yes, I understand that. So, let's see. Sorry, you guys. Let me get focused on wrapping up. There's been so much that we've been covering. We're over an hour and a half. The perks of being a wallflower. Attention made me uncomfortable. I love being an introvert, Barbara. I was an introvert when I was young. I reconnected with my inner introvert during COVID. I love being an introvert. And he was on incel websites, was he? Yeah. Yeah, that whole thing is really scary and dangerous. Somebody came into one of my chats the other day and said, all of the experts are saying it's an incel, and they were very insulting towards me, like, you idiot. Now I'm wondering if that was him or somebody like him. I think I blocked them. Like, you know what? I didn't block them. I just deleted their thing so they could come back. But anyway, I don't know how to like undelete their thing so that I can see who it was. It was really creepy. It was super creepy. You guys might remember if you were in that chat. And he was, yeah, okay, I'm going to highlight that one. He was on incel websites. I'd rather be at home with my animals than out. I love being at home. Like, I can have fun when I push myself to go out, but I just realized during COVID that I have spent my whole life pushing myself too hard to go out and look social and act social and be social. And it's okay not to do that. Like, I loved having a free pass to just say, no, thank you. I wish I would have known that information when I was 17. Whoa, be careful, Jazz. Oh, Barbara, thank you. Yeah, if that, whoever it was, whether it was him or not him, whoever it was pretty crazy the way they were coming out of nowhere and just coming on very aggressively. That's what I mean when I talk about trolls. Somebody like that I normally block, but I also try not to block people. I try to give people a second chance, but I would rather err on the side of caution. And if they were smart trolls, they'd be all polite and nice and blend in, right? I mean, I shouldn't say that because we don't want to teach the trolls how to be smart. I'd rather be on the beach with a cold adult beverage and a fat joint. Even though I'm in recovery, I'm still going to pin that because, sometimes just like a cold lemonade can be just as good as any other adult beverage. And a fat joint, I feel like, just being chill is like the goal right there. Just being chill, just being cool, calm, and collected, and just not worrying about things. That's a good goal. I think seeing it on Evil Exists, they showed the posts. Yeah. Yep. That Evil Exists from a few days ago is really good. That shows a lot of stuff. So much good content, you guys. And I appreciate you so much spending your time with me because I know there's so many of us content creators making content and competing for your time and attention. I really appreciate you being on this channel with me. So yeah, I'm going to start heading towards the wrapping it up part. My estranged spouse has that problem enough so he'd drag his own kids down. Yeah. I heard somewhere that there was a statement that said she made a mistake. She wasn't in the same jail as BCK. I believe it was Enton News Nation. Huh. I don't know what it is that you're referring to. The she made a mistake. But I'll check it out. I love Brian Enton. I think is a very, very respectable and responsible news source. I really like his work. Even I mentioned yesterday, even when he was knocking on the front door of the accused families, I thought that that's an odd thing to do. And in most cases, I would not approve of that. But it was Brian Enton. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to trust his professional judgment on doing that. So Miss Anonymous says, I smoke because I don't do anything else. Plus, it helps pain. Right. We need to know for ourselves what works for us, and what works for us isn't necessarily going to be what works for someone else. Drinking alcohol is overrated, causes so many problems in people's lives. Right. And sometimes, I'm not a person that can have just one, but, sometimes like a glass of red wine is supposed to be considered healthy for some people, not for alcoholics. I haven't had a drop in 12, almost 13 years. Congratulations, Miss Anonymous. That's great. My drink of choice is Juicy Juice Apple Peach. I love Apple Peach Roguehouse. That sounds really good. And I hope you feel better soon. Can't drink alcohol, gives me headaches. The thing is it's expensive. It can make us overweight. It can make us lethargic. It can cost us a lot in money and health. So not drinking can have all kinds of benefits. And again, that's not to be judgmental towards anybody with any addiction problem or mental health problem. We all have our problems. Unfortunately, people raised by parents with personality disorders and toxicity are attracted to the same. It appears normal to them and to some degree comfortable. Exactly, Caroline. I can speak to that from experience of my own life. Okay. It was a different guy. What was this? The inmate. Let me pull that one down. It went away. who exposed himself was not Brian. Oh, Heather Mosier, thank you so much. See, this is why it's so important to suspend our belief and disbelief of things, because people can be trying to give us good information and accidentally give us not good information. And people can run with it, right? Especially on the interwebs. Like the telephone game. We got to be so careful. None of us want to disseminate misinformation or disinformation. And, that was very explosive. Like, oh my goodness, he's, exposing himself. So Heather's saying it was a different guy. The inmate who exposed himself was not the accused. So good to know. And just, this is why I try to always take anything with a grain of salt, because we just don't know. Even if it's been confirmed, we still don't know. We don't know if it's misinformation or disinformation, in my opinion, because there's so much out there, so much gaslighting, so much psyops, so much inaccuracy that might be unintentional. So yeah, you guys, let's get to the wrapping up part. I used to be the party girl, but a spiritual awakening happened and now it makes me sick. Thank God. Well, that's cool. That's neat. Yeah, I feel like I'm still a party girl, just without substances, which saves me a lot of money and health issues. I still just try to be, the same person that I've always been. And the problem with addictions is that when you're a true addict, you're using your substance, your drug of choice, just to feel normal. So you're not necessarily feeling good or feeling high. It's that you feel completely awful without it, and you have to have it just to feel normal. So the light is changing. It's flooding me out. We're getting to an hour and 45 minutes. We're ready to wrap it up anyway. I heard Brian was laying on the floor of jail in a ball shape. I heard it on Fat and Opinionated. I've never even heard of Fat and Opinionated. Heavenly Clouds. That's a funny name for a YouTube channel. The Call on T-Rev channel, he said he did not know if it was Brian. Good to know. Good to know. I'm trying to give back to make up for the bad I did. That's why I volunteer. Miss Anonymous, were you the person yesterday saying that you do like essay volunteer work, that you're a teacher or something like that? Because I thought that's probably like volunteering for people who've been essayed, right? During the live, I just didn't know what it was and kind of skipped over it. Search and rescue. Okay, yeah. Volunteer search and rescue. That's awesome. So let's see. The one small detail that I mentioned yesterday in the Yates case is that he would use his heavy construction equipment in the middle of the night in his backyard where he lived in Yakima or Spokane area. Again, I was going to look up his case to be more specific. I know he had 4 or 5 daughters, but I was curious if it was a bulldozer or an excavator that he would use from midnight to 3 a.m. routinely over the years. And all of his neighbors said he was such a nice guy and he was so normal. The only complaint they had about him was his running his heavy construction equipment in his backyard in the middle of the night. And now once he was busted for being a serial killer, they figured out why he was doing that. But what a weird thing. And you would think that people would have done some investigating, called the police for noise disturbance, knocked on his door and said, what are you doing running this heavy construction equipment in your backyard during the middle of the night? So Dilly Owen said, I never did these drugs, saying that I think he's probably going through withdrawals is the reason he's laid up in the ball, and they don't help you in prison with that. That's a very good point and possibility. Yeah, I don't know if he was still using, that's a really good idea. Thanks for sharing that. So you guys, let's just try to really stay focused on self-care, taking care of our own selves, our hydration, our consumption of healthy food, our non-consumption of sugar and other unhealthy substances, non or limited. Just take really good care of yourself. Get your rest, get your exercise, your sunshine, your fresh air, your kindness from other people, and love from the people around you and your pets. And Heavenly Cloud says she's doing fasting starting today. Yeah, intermittent fasting is supposed to be all the rage these days, right? There's supposed to be some big health benefits to that. Um, Lucky Lady says, I have a feeling he might have started using again after the murders. That would make a lot of sense. Yeah, because, a person's adrenaline and their emotions are just going to be all over the map. And a person who has tendencies towards addiction could very likely be in a high risk relapse in a situation like that. Very interesting. So yeah, let's say a prayer for Damar Hamlin, the safety for the Buffalo Bills, who's in that chemically induced coma today for the heart attack that he experienced on the field last night. He's in a hospital in Cincinnati, at the University of Cincinnati, with his mom, 24 years old. And, just remember that people that are so unsafe and harmful and hurtful, that they have no moral compass. Normal people know the difference between right and wrong. Some people don't know the difference between right and wrong. They literally don't know, or they don't care. So just focus on your own ability to discern what's good for yourself and what's healthy. Just take really good care of yourself physically, emotionally, and spiritually. That's what it's all about. But especially, I think, with New Year's resolutions, those are usually the types of things that people are focused on. So hopefully we will all have a very healthy, prosperous New Year 2023. Thanks again for joining me, and love to all of you. I probably won't be doing another live today, but certainly tomorrow morning. So take care, and thanks again. See you then.